Okay, so it is just after 11 o'clock, so I will get started. And just to let everybody know, we're recording this session so that we can use it for people that couldn't make it this morning. So on a sunny morning up in Birmingham in the UK, thanks ever so much for everybody who's attending this Oracle Recruiting Cloud webinar this morning. I plan to go through what I've learned from Oracle Recruiting Cloud, and as it said on LinkedIn, to share with you how to get the best out of Recruiting Cloud to drive the efficiencies and to really get the best out of the time to hire for people who you're trying to get into your organization. And as Oracle says, the war on talent might be slowing as the moment in the world we are at the minute, but it will come back and pick up again. And Oracle Recruiting Cloud is definitely a tool that you can use to help you with that. So I've built some things into the system to show you today. I plan to go through some key functionality of the system and then end-to-end how Recruiting Cloud works. So if you're already using Recruiting Cloud, hopefully I might be able to share some tips that I've got. If you're not, then you'll be able to see the benefits of being able to use Recruiting Cloud as part of the Oracle HCM suite. So to kick off, I'm currently on my screen on the Oracle HCM landing page. I'm using our development site, so you'll see some information here, and I'll also be going to the career site and also showing some emails that candidates will receive so that you can really drive the digital journey of candidates through the recruiting process. So the key things that I want to cover today are requisition management, the career pages, so how you can search for jobs and people discover jobs, the end-to-end sourcing, recruiting and offers in Recruiting Cloud, and all of this is done with digital as default, so candidates are online applying for roles, how to identify top talent quickly and accurately, and that's all to improve the complete candidate experience from that first engagement straight through to hire and getting somebody ready to work. So let me just close my team so that we're not interrupted as we go through. So the first things first is to put a requisition out. So strategic workforce planning, you've made a decision that you need to hire somebody into the organization. And that would need to be in the hiring part of Oracle HCM. So everything is on the landing page under my client groups for admin. If you're a hiring manager in the organization, then it would appear under my team if you're hiring into your team. So by clicking on hiring, I then get a view of the requisitions that I am looking after. I can change the view at the top to whether I'm the recruiter, the hiring manager, or a collaborator, which means that I'm helping out in the recruiting process. So I'm not too busy at the moment. I've just got 3 jobs to look after, and I can see how many applicants there are and how many prospects. So that's where you're getting people referred to the job by current employees in your organisation, which is proven to be a better place to find people because people go around with people that have the same interests, skills, etc., or visions and values. So you can have prospects there. Prospects can also be from agency hiring. So Oracle HCM and Recruiting Cloud now has agency recruiting so that you can invite agents and they can place their candidates into your requisitions. That means that you can then track where that person was sourced from, and if there's any finder's fees or anything like that, you can see your return on investment. So Recruiting Cloud will show you how many people from that agency you hired against how many people they put in for the job. So you can see your percentage return on investment for placing jobs with that agency. So I'm going to create a requisition, and by clicking add, so Oracle Recruiting Cloud is built into Oracle HCM. So all of the information in the HR system, such as positions, jobs, FTE, headcount, etc., are all leveraged into Recruiting Cloud so that there's no duplication. There is just the one-time setup of linking them together. So you can have a standard or a pipeline requisition type. Standard is your hiring now. Pipeline is your gathering your talent. and you're looking to see how many people there are in the marketplace that you will then take through in batches or keep warm or contact. You can do templates. So if you've pre-set up a job, if you've got the template all set up, a hiring manager can do this within 7 or 8 clicks. If not, you can do it from a blank requisition. You can use an existing requisition if a requisition closed a while ago and you didn't find the correct person and you now want to open up the requisition again. You can pull it from a position. Positions will leverage and respect the hiring status from release 20B, the hiring status of the position. So if the hiring status is approved, the hiring managers will see that position in the drop-down list. If it's frozen or if it's taken out, they won't see it there. So again, that's another way that HCM is a connected system together and speaking between the modules and the pillars. So for this one, I'm just going to do a blank template first to show you all of the steps, and then I'll use the template to show you how quick it is in respect. So some of these fields here you can hide, some of them you can have visible, whichever the organisation needs. So requisition title, I'm going to have an Oracle Payroll consultant. Number of openings, if I use the position at the top, this will only let me go to the vacant FTE. So I'm not over recruiting to a position unless within the position I have the overlap allowed switched on, which will then allow me to do it in case somebody is working a notice period and I need a handover to the new candidate. Recruiting type. So 5 recruiting types out of the box from Oracle. You can change the name of these. So if you did need to have something different, so in the HE sector, you may have higher education, academic, admin, or professional services and things like that. You can rename these, but they're basically for reporting purposes. Business justification allows that workforce strategy or recruitment strategy to see why are you asking for these or replacing people. This one's going to be a replacement, and in the comments people can say that someone is leaving and when, which will help once you get to the requisition to be approved to say that yes, I'm happy with that, I have the budget and I can approve it. If you're using position to set the requisition title and you click display an organisation chart, that requisition will appear in the organisation chart so that you can see that there is a vacancy in your organisation chart, but it's also another link in to be able to open up the vacancy, the applicants and the candidates. The hiring team, these are people within the organisation. So the hiring manager is normally the person out in the business who is hiring. The recruiter would be somebody in the organisation or in HR. And collaborators are people that are going to help the hiring manager to pre-screen, to select or to interview. So you can add more than one collaborator. The requisition structure, this pulls from Oracle HCM. So you'll be able to see all the departments within the organisation. And the primary location is what will go onto the career site for the candidates to choose where they're looking for around the country. This can be based London, United Kingdom, or can be more geographically based into a city or a town. To manage expectations of candidates, or if there is that need or expectation that they travel around, you can put other locations. So candidates know that I'll be in London, but I'll also be asked to work in Birmingham. If it was in there, let's see what I've got. Oh, let's go to Wales. Details of the job. So this is where it links in to the core HR module of Oracle HCM. So when you hire this person, these bits are already pre-populated and makes that hiring much quicker. Again, making that time to hire that bit quicker. If there is a bonus for referring, you can pop it in there. Posting description. This is where you would type in what the person sees on the career site. So you will see in a moment that there are boxes within the career site, and that is where the short description appears. And then the bigger description is where the list, this is the advert wording. So this is where you can have your essential criteria and desirable criteria, and this is where the candidate will choose whether they meet the level of the job and continue to apply. And you can have a separate description for internal and external. Offer information. This isn't a one-time fix, so this is just pre-populating what you know now, just in case there's negotiation for the correct candidate and to capture that talent. You can change this later on in the candidate selection process, just before you send out their offer letter, which we'll see shortly. Attachments. This is attachments for the hiring team. So if there are any attachments for a pre-screening criteria, or whether there are some pre-screening interview telephone notes, you can put it there so everybody can pick it up from the one location. A candidate selection process are the steps that the candidates will go through in order to be hired. So here we have a couple, and you could have one for executive, you could have one for contingent workers, one for full-time or part-time, but here we're going to use the one that includes pre-employment checks. And then the application flow is the information you are going to gather from the candidate when they fill in the application form, which we'll see shortly. Allow candidates to apply when not posted allows you to send a link to candidates and for them to apply to the job when it's not posted to career sites. This is good for direct sourcing and also for exec hires, and also good if your organisation is reorganising or there is a restructure and you have people at risk. You could do this job and send the link to a at-risk group and they could apply through the link, and you're not showing it to the wider audience. Automatically fill requisition allows you to automatically fill the requisition once you've hired the amount at the top of the requisition. So if you're looking for one hire and you hire somebody, the requisition will automatically close and keep your requisition list up to date. And then finally, questionnaires. So questionnaires, as we'll see shortly, are questions that the candidate will fill in as part of the application process, and also can include disqualification questions, or sometimes called killer questions, where if somebody answers a certain question, it will remove them out of the process automatically and allow some of that screening to be done where there are mandatory levels that candidates need to reach to be hired into an organisation. Some of that could be a certain age, so if they're over 16 or 18 or whatever is legislative to the country that you're working in. And it could also be that they need to be a driver for a driver's job. Lots of things that you can use for the system to help you screen. So we've got a few questions in here, and you can ask different questions. And you could also do questions that are multiple choice. So you could add questions in and they have a multiple choice with a score on them. So this was a new enhancement in 19D or 20A, where you can put a score against each one. So the more that somebody can answer, the higher the score, which allows you again to pre-screen. And you can have different ones for internal or external, but we'll add the same one. Or let's put a different one in. And you can also do interview questionnaires. So within the system, keeping it all off paper and on system, you can ask the interview panel to answer questions about a candidate once they've been interviewed. This can have an expiry date on it, and the panel can send back the replies, which HR can then feed back into the candidate. So that was setting up a requisition from a hiring manager. What we're going to do now is going to cancel that, and I'm going to show you how quick it can be if you already have the templates set up. So where HR have got the templates set up, a hiring manager would come in and choose template. They would choose the recruiting type, the location of where the person's working, which would then give them some requisitions that are already set up. So if I then use HCM consultant, I can then see that all of the information has already been pre-populated, and I can just change if I now want 4 people. And this is much quicker for the hiring manager because everything is completed by HR or in the library to be picked and I can just edit it quickly as I drop down. And as you can see, the posting description with all of the requirements is already populated, saving me work. The offer information is already pre-populated. We don't have any attachments. My configuration is already there with the one that I want. And my questions are already populated onto the system. But for this one, just in case I wanted to add another question, I have the ability to do so. But that was much quicker having a template, which again, hiring managers are busy and recruiters are busy. Everything that Oracle Recruiting Cloud can do to make that quicker is much better for you and the candidates. So I just submit now after 9 or 10 clicks. At this point, there can be an approval. I have them switched off just for the benefit of the webinar today. But now it's sitting in job formatting in progress, which allows me to add the last little bits to my requisition. On this one, I've already pre-populated the information because it was on the template. So again, the recruiter or the hiring manager doesn't need to be able to have to do this because it's already set up. So an employer description is a paragraph about the company which is consistently placed on all jobs.
Please hold.
And the recruiting organisation description can be a department. And that can be, for this one, for Namos, it could be a HCM department or an ERP or finance. For other organisations, it could be marketing or sales, which is a paragraph about the department or the recruiting organisation in the organisation. And then you could put some media and some images into your requisition also, just to make it come alive on the career site. So if we're happy with that and it's already populated, we can then move it to posting. We can preview the job requisition at this point. This is good for accessibility, for disabilities, or for just checking that what you've done looks okay. So here I can see what it looks like on an external desktop. So this is what my job will look like when it goes out on the website. And I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to keep it as it is just for the webinar, but I may want to change that picture to make it a bit smaller. And it's always nice to be able to see that before it gets published, other than having to take it down and redo it. I can also see what it will look like on a mobile phone. So just remember, Oracle Recruiting Cloud has a user responsive feed, so you don't have to change it for it to be onto a mobile or a tablet. It does it itself automatically in the background. So for those people who may be Taleo users or Taleo implementers, where you had to have a career mobile site all configured, that's all done for you in Recruiting Cloud. So let's come out of there. So I'm ready now to move to posting. So you can see that the posting opens up on the left-hand side, and I can now post my internal career site, or my external career site, or my staffing agents. So depending on your recruiting strategy, I could post it now to my internal site for 2 weeks. So actually, let's put it till the end of April. It's easy to remember. And with that click, it's now on the internal career site. For the external career site, I may want it to go later. So I want to give my internal candidates the opportunity to apply before it goes externally. I can do it later and choose a start date and an end date. So this one will only appear for the last 2 weeks of the job being open. However, if I know that there isn't, or I've exhausted the talent that I've got internally and I want to see what's out there, I can post it now. And they'll both be posted at the same time. With posting later as well, you could also do it to post over a weekend, or you could do it to post over Christmas or a holiday. This will maximise when you know that your prospective candidates are looking at jobs. So at Christmas, people get new technology. After new year, the daunting thing of going back to the same job. It's proven that people will be looking for new jobs at these key periods. A Monday or a Sunday is also another one, just at the start of the working week. So you can time them and you don't have to be in the office for that to be sent out to the jobs board. So let's save that. So there is a piece of information in the background, a scheduled process, which pushes out your jobs automatically to your career site. So currently I've set it to every 5 minutes on this one. It's normally every 10 or 15 minutes. And you can see that the information I put onto my requisition is telling me which career site this job is going to go to. There are integrations into the job boards, so it can send it to eQuest or to other jobs boards that you already have a contract with one easy click. And you can also send it to staffing agents as well, which are agencies. So that's that job posted out to the requisition site. So let's have a look at what the career site looks like in Oracle Recruiting Cloud. So this is our Namos one that you may have seen out and about on the website. So this page is all drag and drop. You can do this quite easily. You could have your banners and your cookies onto the site. There is an integration partner called Add This, where you could add in your social media sites as well. So Facebook will take you to the Facebook page. So it links it through. So taking the power of everything you have available to you, people can go and research your company or organisation and make sure they're applying to the correct place or the values meet what they're applying for. So let's have a look at all of the jobs. So our one isn't currently here yet, but these are jobs that are here. So here are the boxes. So that's that top part of the requisition that the wording appears. And then if I click in, so let's go into the payroll consultant. So it opens it on half the page to begin with my job application. Again, a link for me to be able to share it with my wider audience, using that social media presence to be able to get more people to share, just adds to the marketing of the job. For accessibility, if I want to read it a bit bigger, I can make it the whole screen. So I'm going to apply for the payroll consultant's role. So Oracle changed this a while ago. So before you had to create an account, but now you can just log in with your email. And it gets verified later on. This is a dropout point for candidates that if they have to put too much up front straight away, they will possibly not apply. So this has been made much slicker to apply. Terms and conditions can be placed on the website, and then you can click apply. At the top, you've got import your profile. You can use the third-party integration to have CV or resume parsing, and you could also have LinkedIn. So you can apply with LinkedIn to use your LinkedIn account. So for that, you would need a LinkedIn contract with them in the recruiter license. But for the resume, you do get some that you can use. So to use the resume, let's have a look here. So I do have one that I've put in here. Let me just have a look. Actually, I'll come back to that because I'm just running out of time. So we'll pop down and apply for the job. So it's quite simple. If you do import your resume, it will fill in all of this information for you and pre-populate, which again, a digital experience that people like to have. These drop-downs are rendered from HCM. And the address list is also pre-populated. So just to stop people making any mistakes, most of them can be chosen from drop-down lists. All of this makes it really simple for people to be able to apply on the go, and also to be doing it from tablet, mobile phone, etc. Here is the question that we asked of them. So this information is what is required for the recruiters to make their decision to take you through the process. This part of the application form is called the timeline. So here you can add your experience. And again, this can be pre-populated if you use the resume or the LinkedIn connections. And all of the drop-downs are listed, which is good for reporting because you get a consistency across spellings, etc. You haven't got to do data cleansing. And all of these fields are, you can hide or you can show, you don't have to have them all. So at the very beginning, you may not have all of these, just to make a better candidate experience. And then it populates it into the timeline. So if I quickly do an education, so this is a list that you can pre-populate. Again, good for reporting. Let's say that I did that a little bit further along ago. And that populates that in there as well. When you use LinkedIn Apply, all of this populates and looks quite colourful. It captures everything. And you can now also capture your skills that people have endorsed you for. License certifications, this is where you can put in your Oracle certifications. Let's put the most important one in there. And then you can put your issue date, your renewal date. If you have the Oracle Learning module, this can link into Oracle Learning to remind you if something is expiring, and also link into the talent management for performance, etc. And the same with languages. You can create diversity information, which again is leveraged from HR. In the 20B release, which is coming up second quarter of this year, you can start to add in new fields to this diversity and disability collection, which I think if you've been using Taleo or using Recruiting Cloud, we've been waiting for that for quite a while, because some public sector organisations need more than the 5 areas that are currently collected. Add a CV, add your cover letter, and then let's just quickly apply. So e-signature needs to have the same name that's at the top. Hit submit. And that's me applied for the job. Really simple. If I've used my CV or my LinkedIn, it takes about 5 or 6 ticks to apply for a job. And all I have to do is answer the pre-screening questions. For GDPR and to check that it was you that applied, we now have a verification code screen. And that is an email that's sent. So hopefully we should get an email. And it is working nicely for me today. So I get an email with a verification code that I type in to say, yes, it was me. Which then allows me into my profile screen where I can start to track where my job is. So I'm under consideration, which is nice. I can also sign up for the talent community if I want to hear about jobs in the future, just in case I have a wider catchment of my skills into the organisation. So I'll leave that there for now. So back into the Oracle HCM screen. I'm just going to refresh the screen and we'll be able to see that this person has now applied. So Payroll Consultant, I now have 2 applications. And it's test 2, the person that's just applied. So I can see which part of the process they're in, and also how many states they are towards the end of the application. So I know that there's been some questions in LinkedIn and some questions from customers that I've had around unconscious bias and being able to blind screen for line managers. So it doesn't come out of the box from Oracle. However, for those implementers or for people who are looking for that, from the hiring manager role, who is the role that you kind of want to hide that from because they're doing the pre-selection, in a sandbox on certain, which is where we set up the information. So if I didn't want them to see personal information, I can go into show or hide component, and I can put in a negative expression to say exclude the hiring manager role, and that would then hide the answer from the hiring manager role. So if any organisation, or if you're looking for blind screening, the way that I've got around it is to hide these fields. So not so much email address, because we want them to contact them, but home address, their education, so maybe they're the establishment that they got their education from. Probably want to know what they've got, but does it really matter what school they're from? You can hide those key fields, which takes out bias from people when you're pre-screening a role. So that's one way that you can get around blind screening or unconscious bias in application screening. So here I can see that everybody's applied, so this person has applied for the job. Really key is I can see if they've applied for any other job within the organisation. So are they active on any other job application? And also, are they in a candidate pool? And this person is. Candidate pools are where you can keep people together and keep them interested in jobs or send out information about your organisation. I can see the progress of this person, so I can see how long they've been at each stage and each step, which again helps me to drive. I can see the e-signature and the IP address of where they signed it. Any attachments? Interactions are quite important, especially across a global recruiting function. So if I was to contact Pete to tell him that, or Pete made a phone call in to ask about, let's say Pete called to ask about the application, informed how to check personal profile page. If I am off and another member of the recruitment team get a call from Pete, this is a really good customer relationship management point that anybody can pick up and see the calls that have been happening in a history. If you send an email out, so if I wanted to send an email to Pete, I can send a message from within Recruiting Cloud. So if I want to send a blank message, it's just like an email. I can use tokens if I can't remember Pete's name, candidate first name. Let's insert that into the message text. The system will use it and it will make it really easy for me to send a message. All of those message outbound from ORC are captured in the interaction screen. So if I have another look in the interaction screen.
Please hold.
Once that's been processed through, and there's a scheduled process every so often, you will then be able to see that interaction into the interaction screen here. So you can see all of the emails that have been sent out to Pete. Again, keeping an information there of what you're sending to the candidate. Any questions the candidate has answered will appear, so this is where the screening will happen. Any interviews the candidate has. So what I'm going to do, again, because we're short on time and I'm trying to give you an end-to-end view of recruiting, is I'm going to move Pete through the candidate selection process. So if I'm happy with Pete and I've checked everything that I need to check, I can move to the next stage, and I can move on bulk as well. So if I've got lots of people to move, I can do them all at one time. So these are the stages that the candidate can go through. So as a recruiter review, this is where I would check to see that everybody has completed what they need to complete before I put it to the hiring manager. And a hiring manager to be reviewed, and I'd save and close. This would send a message to the hiring manager to tell them that there is a job that they need to look at, and then they can have a look at the information. Once the hiring manager is complete, they can also move me on, and they can say that they're happy for me to be screened or interviewed. And at this point, we're going to have a look at interview and interview to be scheduled. So I've set up in the system an interview schedule, which is very easy to do in the system. You can put the dates and times that the interview panel is available, which means I can then send an interview invite to Pete for him to self-schedule an interview. This means the candidate has it in their gift to be able to choose their interview slot, and the recruiters aren't going backwards and forwards trying to see when a candidate is available. So I'm going to send a face-to-face interview schedule email to Pete. While that email is going through, I'll just quickly show you how easy that is to set up. So from within the requisition, I have down the side interviews, and I can create a schedule. Within that schedule, I can create the days and times that I'm available for the candidates to choose a slot. I can send basic information to them, location details, which tells them where to be, tells them what to do. I can also then do settings for the candidate to say if they can reschedule, can they cancel on the same day, how many times can they reschedule, which just allows information to be up to date for the interview panel. Also, a key one is how many hours before the interview can the candidate reschedule. This is really important so that you know exactly who you're coming to, and it's not changing just the hour before the interview is due. Candidate information. This is information that can go to the candidate in the invite, which is really key. And then if I can just get to the bottom part of the screen, we can have a look at interviewer documents. So the interview panel can be sent a link to the job post, a link to the resume or the CV of the candidate, but also a calendar attachment so they can place it directly into their calendar. Again, this is linking up your calendar with Recruiting Cloud to ensure that everything is joined up and connected. So let's have a look. So Pete should have received his email, and I have. So it's telling me that I have an interview for this job and to go to the interview calendar. It is now going to ask me to say who I am again. Again, all secure, and this had been done over different days, so not as quickly as we're doing it today. So let's just pop back in the number. And then I'll have all of the information that I need and the slots that I can choose. So I'm going to have it in 11:30. It tells me exactly where I need to be, what I'm doing, and I schedule the interview. And my interview is now scheduled. Just in case I forget where my interview is, I can always come in and view my interview from my profile. So it's always there for me. And I can also cancel or reschedule my interview if needed, because life happens. As you can see here, my status is updating as I go through, and I'll also be getting emails to tell me that my interview has been scheduled. And as by magic, there it is, with all of the details for me. So all of this is trying to keep some of the work away from the recruitment team, so candidates can self-service and check where they are and what they're doing. And hopefully they don't, but from here they can withdraw the application if needed, and you can capture the reason why. So let's just pop back into hiring. So when you're creating your candidate selection process, you can link up actions together and you can move people through on condition. So where Pete has just been moved to do an interview, you can see that, let's go to the right person. So into number 2. I can now see the interviewer selection and my interview is to be scheduled. I can now move that, or I can automate it if I'd set it up correctly to move it to interview scheduled. And that's where I'd sit until my interview date. If I've now had my interview, so I am jumping ahead a little bit, and I want to collect some information. So I can do a request information flow, which runs in parallel with the candidate selection process. So here I've built in a pre-employment check questionnaire, and I've set it so when I choose this phase and state, an email will be sent to me to request my references and my criminal record check information, and also to automatically move to pre-employment checks in progress. So this automation, again, is where you can squeeze little bits of time, but the seconds that you take from one candidate become minutes for a campaign and become hours for a yearly strategy. So if I go back to my emails, I should now have had an email saying that the organisation requires some more information from me. And this information you might want to capture after interview, because it's not imperative you need to capture this information as a pre-screening requirement, and can put some candidates off because of the amount of information that's being collected when they haven't been selected to work for the organisation. So once again, I will need to put in my verification code, which we've seen comes quite quickly. So that should pop in a second. And once I've done that, a new part of the application flow will open up and ask me to add in the additional information that is required by the organisation. So there we go. Oops. Let me make sure that was probably user error, and it was. And then this is a confidential questionnaire asking me for my references. So please provide a reference of who we can contact. And again, this is just for, and also my criminal record checks. This is where I can start to collect information of addresses for 5 years. And I can also say the minimum amount of characters I want so that I know I'm getting the information that I need. National insurance number, passport number, driver license, all of these questions can be created, and we can e-sign again and submit. So this information here will then tell me if there is an error in my references. So I haven't put in the characters that I needed. I'm just going to copy that down. So the system will guide me if I've made any mistakes. And that information is then sent back into the system. And it will tell me that my pre-employment questionnaire is in progress. So back into Pete. So when somebody clicks a confidential questionnaire, it is a role that is given to, or a privilege which is given to a role, that they can view confidential questionnaires. So where we saw the answers to the questions before for pre-screening, there is now the answers to the references and the DBS check. And here is the references of Joe Bloggs. So the answers are there, and the criminal reference checks will appear. And you can set up these questionnaires for any part you like. So if it's a medical information that you're looking for, whether it is references, background checks, and for them to provide attachments, so photocopies of passports or driving licenses, all of that can be collected at this point. So I'm quite happy with Pete's information. I'm now going to put in and send an offer. So creating an offer is very quick and very easy in Oracle Recruiting Cloud and works the same as a mail merge in Microsoft Office products. So now I have the create job offer function because I've got to this point. And I can choose what I want to do. So I want to do all of this because I want to get the letter out. And this is where as a hiring manager, I can start to fill it in. So I can give part of this to the offer, to the hiring manager, or part of it to the recruitment team, and they can just fill in parts of it. So let's just have a look. And you need to be part of the offer team to be able to send out the offer letter. Let me just reset that bit. And the offer letter is sent digitally to the candidate, and they e-sign it to send it back in. So let's use this one. Again, I'm using a test environment at the moment, so I'll just have a look, see where I've got to. And there was always going to be a part that was going to play up throughout a live demonstration. So the offer letter would be sent out to the candidate, and that would pull across all of the information from the offer screens that you fill in. Let me just see if I can find one that we've done previously in good old Blue Peter fashion. Let's just take this away. Let's have a quick look for an application that I've seen before in the test environment. I'm just looking at time. I'll probably skip the offers, but the offer would go out and the candidate would assign it and send it back in, and it would come in digitally back into the hiring part. So once the candidate has done that, and you've got to the end of the part in Recruiting Cloud, really, the last step is to move them to the HR step and make them a candidate, which unfortunately you can't do until they've actually created an offer. Let me see if I've got somebody in there. So you would then choose to move them to HR, and all of the information that the person has put in themselves. So this stops double keying. It stops any mistakes from recruiters who are typing lots and lots of a day. The Oracle Recruiting Cloud part stops, and they then get sent as to become a pending worker in the new person dashboard. So with one click, a candidate will then appear in the new person dashboard, and they can be converted then into an employee with 2 or 3 clicks, and they're then ready for the start. And that's when onboarding can start. So in the last 10 minutes of the webinar, I just wanted to cover off some of the areas that we can look at around campaigns and candidate searches and candidate pools. So any recruitment function or talent acquisition function is only as good as the amount of candidates they have in their pipeline to be able to search. So the same as any recruitment agency or any recruitment team, you now have this information and can search on candidates. You could also create campaigns or put people into candidate pools. So to create a campaign, this is where you can send out flyers to candidates asking them for their interest in a job. So if you were doing a graduate scheme this year, we'll put that as the same. And we want people to say that they are interested. So respond to a request. And we're looking for 50 people to say they're interested. You can add the gold responses. So the response says, I am interested. And this one counts towards the goal. And we want to say thank you. And we can add another one to say, I'm not interested. And that one doesn't count towards the goal, but we still want to say thank you. You can put it against a job requisition, and you can have an owner. And save and close. So what we can then start to do is send emails out. We can activate the campaign, or we can prepare an email to be sent out to this audience that we're looking for. So I want to send an email. Which is I'm going to use our recruitment event that we had in March. I've already got a template. And it's very easy to do a really nice flyer to send out to people. So we're happy with that. We'll use that. And then what we want to do is to schedule the email to be sent. We'll send it now. And that will go overnight. But we can have a look at our audience as well. So I can say that I only want this to go to external people. And the system then goes away and pulls them all together. And it starts to give me some data insights, some analytics into the makeup of my audience. So I can see that 5 are from London. Let's see where they're working at the moment. So from the information they placed in their job application, let's move that over there, I can see where people are working. And also from the degrees, so what information they've put in around their degrees, I can see what kind of population I'm sending this to, which may mean that I change or exclude some people. So if this one needed somebody quite quickly, and therefore I was just going to send it out to people in the United Kingdom, etc., then I would maybe exclude anybody else away from that. If I wanted an education, I could also do the same. And then I can send that out to them and collect to see the interest in the graduate scheme. So I know how to ramp up my information or to ramp up the resources that I have in my recruitment team or my talent acquisition team to be ready to do this when it actually goes live. And the last one is candidate pools, where I can pull people together and look after them. So if I got ERP candidates, I could nurture them, contact them, keep them warm, because they're not looking right now, but they may be looking in the future. So all of that information around Oracle Recruiting Cloud, and there's lots more to do. I can talk for more than an hour on recruitment, is probably what I wanted to talk around today and capture some key information. There are about 20, 25, 30 enhancements coming every quarter with Recruiting Cloud as it really starts to pick up. But I will be sharing things on LinkedIn around enhancements. I do weekly Oracle Recruiting Cloud thoughts and my view of Recruiting Cloud as it matures into the marketplace. So you've heard my voice for nearly an hour. So for the last 5 minutes, I'm going to open the floor to see if anybody has any questions at all.
Hi, Pete. So we've got one question on that from Tech. Do we have aggregators or job boards?
Yes. So we have, Oracle has an integration with eQuest, which is a free integration that you can have. And that will send jobs out to job boards that you currently have contracts with. So that could be munster.co.uk, for example. Broadbean is one of them if you use Broadbean. But again, how you saw how quickly it was to send a job to our internal external career site, it is just as quick and possibly quicker to send it to those job boards through that integration.
Okay, thank you, Pete. If anyone else has got any questions for Pete, you can put them on the chat if you don't want to speak it out.
Hey Pete, this is Farhan. I have
Hi.
one question.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so the create job offer was the last step. After that, the candidate will be automatically moved to new person dashboard, or do we have a step between that?
So
because we were not able to see that step.
No, apologies about that. The only 2 steps that are mandatory in the process are offer and move to HR. So you can put things in between those steps, but those are 2 mandatory ones. So once somebody has accepted the offer, you can put a conditional move in there, which is a formula to say once they've accepted it, move them to HR. So if you're happy that somebody's accepted their offer, the system can automate them to go to the create new person dashboard without you touching it, with a notification to the recruiter to say there is somebody there, and then they just have to convert them into a pending worker. So that was quite new in one of the not so long ago releases. But again, the more we can automate those actions, the less time that people are doing transactional clicks into Oracle Recruiting Cloud, the more they're adding value to the candidate and the experience. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So if we don't automate that, then we have to manually go and select and do that action, like move into HR. Right?
Yeah, and that is just where we saw actions and move. There is a step that says move to HR, and it's done. So it's only 2 clicks, or you can automate it. But over a whole recruitment campaign, 2 clicks can add up to 100 clicks quite quickly.
Perfect. Thanks, Pete.
No worries.
Pete, question here from Lucy. Can you hear me?
I can, Lucy.
Hi, Pete. Thanks for the brilliant webinar. I was very interested in anonymization or blind screening. How far can that go and how flexible is it?
So I've just trialed it with one of our clients that have asked for it. Unconscious bias has been one of my key areas for quite a few years now, as I came from a head of recruitment for a police force before I came to Namos, and it was key to do it there. So any field on the application form can be hidden by using that negative expression to say that hiring managers can't see that. So really, it depends on how many fields you want to. The only ones that bit me in the past were hiding the name, because all of a sudden you've got blank coming to an interview, which really isn't part of the experience you want. But it really is up to you how far you go with that, but everything can help. We are just starting on a piece of work with Oracle around AI and that machine learning, where there is a piece of work going on where the machine learning can help you do some of that. So it looks at your job advert and looks at the candidate application and gives you a list of who matches, what they've typed and what's requested, which again will be another layer of removing that bias. But at the moment we rely on those hiding of those fields, which that's the way that I've got around it at the moment.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's really helpful.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no more questions, thanks ever so much, Pete, for that great webinar. The recording will be available and we'll socialise that as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely afternoon and hope to see you on the next Namos webinar.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you, Pete.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, everyone.